From Vermont Public, this is The Frequency. I'm Mitch Wertlieb. It's Monday, November 3rd, and here are today's headlines. Nearly 50 people have appeared in Chittenden County's new accountability court so far. The new docket has been operating for 2 weeks. It was launched as part of Governor Phil Scott's plan to address crime in Burlington. The effort focuses on people who have 5 or more pending criminal cases. Law enforcement says this relatively limited number of people take up a disproportionate amount of their time. But Jessica Burke, a defense attorney based in Burlington, has some reservations. She says the aim of the new docket is a good idea, but Burke says she has concerns about how it might play out.
Are we trying to shift accountability to individuals whose needs aren't being met by the state by throwing them in jail so that we can all go Christmas shopping without having to look at it?
According to the governor's office, the accountability court, which will run for 3 or 4 months, could be expanded to other counties. The Trump administration drastically reduced the number of refugees the country will accept next year. The presidential determination plan that was announced last Thursday said the U.S. will accept 7,500 refugees in 2026. That is down from last year's cap of 125,000 refugees set by the Biden administration. The plan has given white South Africans prioritized entry. The administration alleges they are facing racial persecution in their country, but South African government officials strongly reject those claims. Tracy Dolan is the director of the state's refugee office, and she says this means there will be less room for other population groups to enter the U.S.
We have a lot of folks from the Congo, from Sudan, and from other areas who are also hoping for family reunification through the refugee program. Any Afghans who are waiting may not be able to arrive. Folks in many other countries, Congo and Sudan being 2 of them, are much less likely to arrive.
Dolan said she believes the state will still be able to welcome Afghan refugees with special immigrant visa status. Towns across Vermont have scheduled special bond votes for Election Day as they continue to rebuild from the past few years of devastating flooding. Cabot, Barry, and Heinsberg are all asking their voters to support flood resiliency projects. And even though most towns will not hold an election on November 4th, there are a handful of towns asking their voters to support development projects. The Berlin Select Board is seeking approval of an almost $1.8 million bond to help pay for a 4-season recreation center. And Brighton is holding a vote on a $9.6 million bond to pay for upgrades to its wastewater system. Coming up, the Frequency podcast that you're hearing now will sound a bit different starting tomorrow, but fear not, the change is a good one and is part of some exciting new projects that are ahead at Vermont Public. I'll be discussing the details with Vermont Public's Mary Engish after this.
Thanks for listening to The Frequency, where support comes from 802 Spirits. When you shop at one of the 80-plus independently owned 802 Spirits stores across Vermont, you're supporting local Vermont communities. Learn more about how 802 Spirits contributes to the spirit of Vermont and the Vermont General Fund at 802spirits.com. And Springfield Cadillac GMC in Springfield, Vermont, offering a wide range of pre-owned electric vehicles starting at under $20,000. View all EV inventory at springfieldgmc.com.
And just before we go, one final note. I am joined in the studio now by All Things Considered host Mary Engish. Hi, Mary.
Hi, Mitch.
And people may be wondering, why have you brought Mary into the studio today to end this episode of The Frequency? Well, this is the reason why. What you're listening to is my last show as the everyday host of The Frequency, and I am passing those duties happily off to you, Mary. Starting today, you will be the new permanent host of The Frequency.
It is so true, and thank you so much for all your work on The Frequency for the past couple of years. You've been that daily dose of local news and other great stories that folks really rely on, and it's not going to go away. We're just under construction. But I should ask you, Mitch, what are you doing? Where are you going?
That is an excellent question. And, just like when I left as the host of Morning Edition, you can't get rid of me that easy. I'm like a bad nickel, keep popping on up. I'm actually working on a new project that's going to take a little time to get together, but it's something I'm extremely passionate about, and I can just tell listeners right now, we're working on a new sports show that we're going to debut on Vermont Public. We're really working out the details right now, but You know, anyone who's listened to the Frequency or Morning Edition knows I have a thing for sports. I do love it. And we're going to be concentrating on Vermont sports, but also, regional and national sports. And we're going to talk about it and have some fun with it. We're going to talk about the serious issues as well. It's all in the works right now. I can't reveal that much more, but that's why I am stepping away from the Frequency. And Mary, what I'd like people to know is that you are the perfect person to take over this role as the host of The Frequency. People know your work from All Things Considered, your wonderful interviewing style, the great questions you ask, the work that you do, the features you produced. How do you feel about taking this over?
Well, big shoes to fill, I'm not going to fill your shoes. I'm just going to wear different shoes. I think
I do have big feet, but believe me, you could fill these shoes quite easily, metaphorically speaking.
No, I'm really excited to bring just different elements to it. And like I said before, folks are still going to get their local news, the top stories of the day, the headlines, but also kind of maybe a little bit more behind the headlines. And we really want to make it sound like Vermont. We eventually will reach out to listeners and ask them to share some different sounds from their corner of Vermont. So let us know if you have suggestions of things that you'd like to hear in a daily news podcast from Vermont Public.
And you can do that by going to The Frequency at vermontpublic.org. We love reaching out to you, hearing your ideas. And I got to tell you, it is going to get better. For those of you who have been listening to The Frequency, who have been subscribing so far over these last couple of years, thank you so very much. It is bittersweet for me because I've really enjoyed doing this. I love providing something that in 10 or 15 minutes, as you were saying, Mary, lets people know what is going on in Vermont, the most important stories of the day. If you don't have the time to listen for a few hours during Morning Edition or All Things Considered, this is a way to get the most important news. That won't change. But I'm so looking forward as a listener, just as a listener, to hear what you're going to do with this show and the things you're talking about. It's only going to get better. So please keep subscribing. Please keep listening. And I'm just so looking forward to what happens next in the next chapter of The Frequency.
Thanks, Mitch.
Thank you, Mary. Thanks for listening to The Frequency today. We had additional reporting from Liam Elder Connors, Adia Golston, Mary Engish, and Howard Weiss-Tisman. Today's episode was edited by Mark Davis, and our music is by Blue Dot Sessions. I'm Mitch Wertlieb, and even though I won't be talking to you tomorrow, Mary will, and I will be happily filling in from time to time as your guest host as we move forward. And once again, thank you so much for your support of this podcast and everything at Vermont Public.
Sources and methods, the crown jewels of the intelligence community. Shorthand for how do we know what's real? Who told us? If you have those answers, you're on the inside, and NPR wants to bring you there. From the Pentagon to the State Department to spy agencies, listen to understand what's really happening and what it means for you. Sources and Methods, the new national security podcast from NPR.